Snoop Dogg. Girl, something about him has been feeling off lately, and I know I'm not the only one who noticed it. Like, tell me why the second 50 Cent dropped that Diddy documentary, suddenly Snoop just disappeared. And I don't mean like taking a break disappeared. I mean full-on ghost mode. No Instagram, no random comments, no jokes, nothing. And this is Snoop. We're talking about the same man who has an opinion on literally everything. So naturally, people started talking. Because you know how it is. When someone who's always loud suddenly goes quiet, that silence starts sounding real loud. And let's just get this straight first. Sean Combs, aka Diddy, has been at the center of some very serious allegations for a while now. And this documentary, it didn't hold back. It pulled together years of stories, people speaking out, and all those whispers about those so-called freak-off parties that the industry has been side-eyeing forever. Now here's where it gets interesting. Snoop Dogg wasn't just some random guy in the background of all this. Him and Diddy were close. Like, family level close. Their kids grew up together. Their families were intertwined. We're talking playdates, sleepovers, same circles, same lifestyle. Snoop himself has talked about how their sons were basically like brothers since they were little. So when someone that close to you suddenly becomes the center of a massive scandal and your response is silence, that's where people started raising eyebrows. Because let's be honest, if your best friend is trending worldwide for something serious, you're either going to defend them, distance yourself, or say something. Anything. But Snoop, nothing. Just vanished. And that's when the internet did what it does best. Started digging. Now listen, I'm not saying everything out there is facts, okay? But when multiple stories start overlapping, people start connecting dots, whether you like it or not. One thing people keep bringing up is this old clip of Diddy joking on TV, saying something like, "When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it." And if you go back and watch it, and I mean really watch, Snoop's reaction is weird. It's not just a laugh. It's like one of those, something I know kind of smiles. And people are now rewatching that moment like, hold on, what exactly was that about? And that's just the surface. Because then you've got Suge Knight stepping in. And, Suge doesn't hold back, especially now that he's got nothing to lose. He started talking about the night Tupac Shakur got shot in Vegas. And according to him, Snoop was supposed to be there that night. The fight, the after party, everything. But last minute, Snoop just didn't show up. Now, normally that could mean anything, right? Plans change. But then Tupac gets shot, and Snoop still doesn't show up. Not at the hospital, not around, nothing. Suge says he was calling Snoop, telling him to come check on Pac. And when Snoop finally did show up to Suge's place, the way he was acting, that's what made people uncomfortable. Apparently, Snoop walked in saying Tupac was mad at him. Then he starts crying, and not just crying, like physically sick, throwing up type of reaction. And listen, grief hits people differently. I get that. But people are looking at that like, that's not just sadness. That looks like pressure, like guilt, like someone carrying something heavy. And it doesn't stop there, because then Warren G's name comes into the conversation too. People say Snoop was actually at his house that night watching everything unfold on TV. But here's the weird part. They say Snoop had some kind of special radio with him. Not regular walkie-talkies, but those long-range ones security teams use at major events. So now people are asking, why would Snoop have access to that kind of equipment? And why would he allegedly be able to hear what was happening in Vegas in real time? Some even claim there were voices on the radio saying things like, "Got him," right after Tupac was shot. Now, again, these are claims. But when multiple people start repeating the same story, it sticks. And then you've got people going back to old interviews, old footage, old moments, and suddenly everything feels different. Snoop's body language around Tupac, people are saying it looks tense, awkward. Like he wasn't fully on Pac's side during that whole East Coast versus West Coast era. Some even say he seemed closer to Diddy's circle than to Death Row when things got heated. And the crazy part, people were saying this back then too. But nobody wanted to believe it because Snoop had that image, cool, chill, laid back, harmless. Now that image, people are starting to question it. And this is where it starts getting darker because once people begin questioning someone's past, they don't stop at just one thing. Because once people start digging, they don't just stop at old interviews and body language. They go deeper, way deeper. And that's exactly what started happening with Snoop Dogg's name. So now enter this guy, Courtney Burgess. Been in the industry for decades, claims he's seen things, knows people, all that. And he comes out saying he has access to something that changes everything, a so-called original memoir from Kim Porter. Now you know Kim Porter, right? Diddy's ex, mother of his kids, passed away back in 2018. And even her passing had people questioning things online for years. So Courtney is like the version of her memoir that leaked before, fake. According to him, the real one is completely different. And he claims it contains notes, receipts, photos, stuff she allegedly kept hidden because she knew how dangerous things could get around Diddy. And here's the part that made people pause. He says Snoop Dogg's name is in there too. Not casually either. He's talking about photos and not normal photos. He describes them as Snoop and Diddy in situations that look too close. Not just friendly, not just industry brothers. Something more uncomfortable. One specific thing he mentioned, Diddy holding Snoop's hand in a way that didn't look like a quick handshake, more like lingering. And you know how guys usually greet each other, quick dap, move on. So people are looking at that like, wait, what exactly is going on here? And apparently it's not just Snoop. He claims there are images involving other celebrities too. Names like Nayo, Andre Harrell, all in these same kind of questionable moments. Now, whether you believe him or not, here's where it gets serious. A lawyer named Ariel Mitchell, and she's not some random person online. She went on live TV and confirmed something that shook people. She said someone approached her trying to sell a tape involving Diddy and another celebrity. Not rumor, not speculation, a tape. And when the interviewer asked her how big this other person is, she said bigger than Diddy. Let that sink in. Bigger than Diddy. And she made it clear she's seen still images from it, clear enough to recognize the person. She also said the footage looked like it was recorded without the other person even realizing it. And now, of course, the internet did what it does. People started throwing out names, and one name kept coming up again and again. Snoop Dogg. Now, I'm not saying that makes it true, but when multiple different conversations, different circles, different platforms all start pointing in the same direction, people start paying attention, and then people brought Kim Porter back into the conversation again. Because think about the timeline. She passes away suddenly in 2018. Healthy, 47 years old. Pneumonia is the official cause. But online, people never fully accepted that story. And now with these claims that she had evidence, documents, photos, things connecting Diddy and possibly Snoop, it's making people look at everything differently. Like, was she sitting on information that could have exposed a lot of people? And if she was, what happened to it? That's the kind of question people are asking now. Then you've got Gene Deal stepping in. And this man was close to Diddy for years. Not industry close, real life close. Security, traveling, being around everything. And the way he talks about those parties, girl, it's not normal. He describes these rooms where everything was controlled, the temperature, the lighting, the music, all set to create a certain vibe. Not just partying, but something deeper, almost like a setup. He even talked about a moment where a priest-type figure was there doing some kind of ritual on Diddy, and then Diddy releasing a white dove, except the dove didn't fly, it just dropped. Now, whether you believe that or not, it adds to the picture people are forming. Because Gene Deal also said something else. He said Snoop wasn't just around, he was present at some of these events too. Not as an outsider, as someone involved. And then there's Allie Carter. Now, she's been speaking for years, talking about trafficking, talking about what she claims she experienced. And she's been naming both Diddy and Snoop since like 2020. Back then, nobody listened. People called her crazy, dragged her online, dismissed everything she said. But now, some of the things she mentioned are lining up with conversations happening today. And she made a bold claim. She said Snoop had even more influence in those circles than Diddy. And that right there, that made people uncomfortable. Because Snoop's public image is the complete opposite. Chill, funny, harmless, always smiling. The guy everyone loves. So when someone starts suggesting he's tied to something darker, it shakes people. And she didn't stop there. She also talked about Tupac. She suggested that behind the scenes, Snoop and Diddy might have been closer than people realized, even during that East Coast versus West Coast tension. Like, alliances weren't as clear as they looked publicly. And when you combine that with Suge Knight's claims, the hospital story, the missing events, people start connecting dots again. And then there's another thing people started noticing. Snoop's stories don't always line up. Like, there's this one story he told about being present during a confrontation involving Tupac and Nas in New York. Sounds intense, right? Except Nas later said Snoop wasn't even there. And members of Tupac's own circle backed that up. So now people are asking, why tell a story like that if it didn't happen? Why insert yourself into moments you weren't part of? And the answer people are coming up with? Image. Because being tied to Tupac, especially as someone loyal to him, protects Snoop's legacy. It keeps that ride or die perception alive. But if that loyalty gets questioned,